Hello, my name is Sydney Hall, and I am a Wellbeing Ambassador from ECU Campus Recreation and Wellness, also known as the CRW. Today we are going to talk about healthy relationships. We will discuss romantic, platonic, and professional relationships. By the end of this program, you will be able to recognize your personal limitations in relationships, and you will also be able to explain how to set boundaries. There are many types of relationships. Romantic relationships involve love and intimacy. These are the relationships we think of when we talk about having a significant other. Platonic relationships are relationships we think of with our friends and peers. There's no sexual component in platonic relationships. Professional relationships are related to our professional goals and involve our supervisors, mentors, mentees, and coworkers. Can you think of some examples of what romantic, platonic, and professional relationships look like in your life? Romantic relationships could be your boyfriend or girlfriend. Platonic relationships could be your best friend and family, and professional relationships can include your professors, coworkers, or boss. Let's discuss the characteristics of healthy relationships. Think of some characteristics of a healthy relationship. For example, some might say healthy communication, honesty and trust, and mutual respect and acceptance. Can you think of why someone may consider those to be characteristics of a healthy relationship? For example, they make us feel valued because we can openly talk about our feelings and emotion. They make us feel safe because we can express ourselves without fear of retaliation. And they make us feel respected because we can openly discuss what's bothering us and come up with solutions. A large part of any healthy relationship is healthy communication. It's important that you can talk to your partner, friend, or coworker about how you're feeling and what's bothering you regarding your relationship with them. Additionally, healthy communication is important in achieving goals, supporting others' growth, and allowing others' views to be heard. What does healthy communication look like to you? For example, being able to openly discuss your feelings, being able to have a conversation without raising voices or yelling, and having your wishes and opinions being respected and valued. A way we can establish healthy communication is by setting healthy boundaries. Think about what boundaries mean to you. According to the University of Kentucky, boundaries are guidelines or limits that we create to identify what are reasonable and permissible ways for others to behave around us, and how we will respond when someone oversteps those limits. You can think of boundaries like property lines. They can change and they are unique to everyone. Boundaries are important because they help us decide what types of communication, behaviors, and interactions are acceptable. They allow us to communicate our needs in a relationship, and they allow us to practice self-care and self-respect. Now that we know what boundaries are and why they are important, we're going to talk about how to set boundaries in your relationships. First, define. When setting boundaries, it is best to identify and name your limits. This might mean you need to determine if you have boundaries, if they are healthy, and what is important to you. For example, you might have boundaries with your romantic partner, but not with your friends. Next, communicate. Communication is important in healthy relationships and is critical when setting boundaries. When setting boundaries, you need to state what you need or what you do not want. Also, keep the focus on yourself. For example, I need some time to myself when I get back from class. Remember to stay simple. When setting boundaries, know that you do not have to provide a long explanation. Saying no clearly and firmly is a justified boundary. Everyone has the right to determine their limits and what they will and will not accept. Set consequences. It is not enough to set boundaries, but it is necessary to enforce them. It does not have to be done in a harsh way. It can be negotiable. For example, you could say, If you continue this behavior, I will ask you to leave, or if you break plans with me by not showing up or calling me, I will call you on your behaviors and let you know how I feel. It can be challenging to set boundaries with certain people and in certain environments. Here are some tips on how to set healthy boundaries. When you feel the need to set a boundary, do it clearly, calmly, firmly, and respectfully. For example, I don't like when people yell at me. That's a firm personal boundary for me. So when someone I am friends with gets upset and begins to raise their voice at me, I will calmly and respectfully say, I'm sorry you're upset, but we can talk more when we can have this conversation without yelling. You cannot control how other people respond to you. You can only control your actions and how you communicate your boundary setting. Some people may get angry or upset, but it is important to stand your ground. For boundaries to be most effective, your behavior should match the boundary you're setting. If I tell someone, I'm sorry you're upset, but we can talk more when we can have this conversation without yelling, but continue to engage in the conversation with them, I will be less effective in setting that boundary. Sometimes we may feel guilty or selfish when setting boundaries. It is okay and normal to feel uneasy about it at first. If you find yourself experiencing these feelings, remind yourself that you have the ability to establish how people can behave towards you and around you, and you have the right to be respected in any of your relationships. Don't rush yourself. Setting healthy boundaries is a learning process. Surround yourself with people who respect your right to set boundaries. We will now engage in an activity. I will read off some scenarios regarding romantic, platonic, and professional relationships. After I finish reading these scenarios, I want you to consider if you would stay, talk, or go. First, let's talk about romantic relationships. Your partner looks through your phone without your permission. This can be a tricky one because some people may choose to stay and talk while others may choose to go. If you chose to stay and talk, you may ask your partner why they chose to do this and talk the situation out. Where those who choose to go may feel like their partner may not trust them and their trust has been broken. Let's talk about platonic relationships. Your friend is intimidated by your new relationships. In this situation, most may choose to talk to their friend and reassure them and tell them they have nothing to worry about. Lastly, professional relationships. Your supervisor provides constructive feedback when there are work errors. For this scenario, staying may be the choice that most people choose because the feedback given from the supervisor is helpful advice. Some on-campus resources that you can use are well-being coaching at the Campus Recreation and Wellbeing Center. You can make an appointment with a well-being coach and co-create a plan to help identify and set healthy boundaries. The Counseling Center for Student Development, you can make individual or group counseling appointments. For other resources that we do not have listed, you can go to ecucares.ecu.edu. ECU Cares was developed to help distressed individuals, connecting them to appropriate campus resources and reporting concerning behavior to professionals on campus. I have also included QR codes for each resource and we'll stop on each one if you would like more information. ECU Wellbeing Coaching. ECU Counseling Center for Student Development. ECU Cares. Here are references. I also wanted to remind you to remember the 3 W's. Thank you for listening to this presentation.